Dan Rubenstein, Washington 36, Oregon 33. The Oregon Ducks had him, Dan.
Yeah.
They had him. It felt like they had him. It felt like Dan Lanning was a little bit like the guy at the blackjack table who just decides, you know what? We're going to split the sixes. I'm enjoying myself. I just want to press my luck. And then it all sort of goes wrong and you bust on both hands. He decides to go for it on fourth down. Doesn't work out. Gives the ball back to Michael Penix. Michael Penix does what Michael Penix does. Made him pay. And that's how Washington ended up winning. I know there was a lot more that went into it, but that's certainly how it ended. I know you posted a video out on the YouTube channel. People can go and watch that. But before I wax poetic about my thoughts on this game and Bo Nix and Penix and whatever else, Dan Lanning, we had people calling in about Dan Lanning. What were your thoughts?
How much time do you have, Ty? Okay, so big picture, the game rhythmically sort of went how we thought it would go, right? Michael Penix really threw some incredible balls, and Washington actually ran better than I thought they would be able to do, although Oregon hasn't been strong against the run this season. But look, everybody's going to talk about a singular thing in this game. For as great as Michael Penix appeared to be at times, especially, he was beat up in that second half. He was taking some shots in that second half.
He was hurt.
And he was an absolute warrior, staying in there, hanging in there, especially when they got the ball back at midfield, driving down to take the eventual commanding and winning touchdown. It's a decision thing, and it's an execution thing for Oregon, because Oregon was able to climb back into this game because of their defense, because of their pass rush, because of their ability to get off the field against an excellent offense in Washington. It was not converting fourth downs. It was not taking the points after that interception. Free points, I would remind you. And I'm very much a proponent of being aggressive, that this was a touchdown party, and it's hard to win games that are touchdown parties with field goals. But in the case where you're able to flip the field and give yourself an extra possession right before half, and you're getting the ball back to start, and you have that opportunity, that middle eight opportunity, it's always easy in retrospect to say, take the points. You got to take the points. Absolutely take the points. I like aggression. But what was clear was Oregon was not prepared to execute in those high leverage moments. They did not have the plays. They did not have winning plays on fourth and short, on third and short, all that often. And so that was the difference. Like, I think it's important to separate decisions from results, but also if you're making decisions and the plays you're running seem uninspired and don't give you an incredible chance. Like, they weren't running Bo Nix, right? It wasn't a zone read situation where he was a running threat. They could collapse on the run without worry for that. Like, I think Joe Moorhead calling this offense, this is an Oregon win. Now, we don't exist in that reality, but I thought this was a pretty telling situation for the status of Oregon's offense, which I think is the best pretty good offense in America right now. Because even though the numbers suggest that they're an elite offense, in a game like this where there's very little in the way of, forget a vertical passing threat, but an intermediate passing threat, it was a lot of short stuff with a couple of shots in there, not a ton of variety. So I thought Washington's defense performed super well against Oregon at times, but Oregon was still running the ball relatively well. And so this was a game that Oregon, unfortunately, was not able to be good enough to win. I've said this earlier on in the season. I think winning is a skill, and I think Washington was a more pronounced winner on the field. So that's my takeaway, that Oregon is not a full winning operation right now. And again, I have no problem with going for it on fourth down, but when that's what the execution looks like, it's back to the drawing board. What did I say about Penn State? Excelsior? What's go-to package? What is your unbeatable? Like, you have this playing NCAA football, right, Ty? You have three plays where you're like, it's 3rd and 4. This is a no-brainer. This is automatic. And 94% of the time for an advanced, controlsman like yourself.
That's right. Thank you.
And so that to me was the issue. This was an Oregon team that was not ready for prime time. And I've said this a bajillion times. Good teams take advantage of opportunities. And I don't have a problem with not punting, because Washington was going to drive those 20, 30 net yards in a minute, 30 seconds, whatever. But you have to have a better idea of what will and should work when you have that kind of experience and talent. And the Oregon offense was a mess. And the Washington offense was, even though they were slowed down considerably, they were the best thing on the field because they rose to the occasion more often. Even with those goal line stops, that crucial goal line stop near the end of the game, it was a Washington team prepared to take advantage of opportunities in a way that Oregon wasn't. And that, to me, was the story of the game.
Man, what is it about these 4th and short scenarios, even 3rd and short in some cases? I feel like we had this exact same conversation a couple weeks ago when it was Notre Dame against Ohio State, and that was my gripe about the play calling. Actually, I went nuts about that play calling on our preview episode before week 7 and how I
Yeah.
thought it might get in. It didn't get in the way this evening for Notre Dame USC. But alas, we have certainly seen our moments where it seems these high leverage situations pop up. And for whatever reason, it's almost like they overthink it, right?
Yes.
USC, for whatever you want to say about USC gives the ball to Caleb Williams and says, fake the handoff and run around the end on 4th down.
Right.
In a lot of cases, the Philadelphia Eagles just push Jalen Hurts over the line and it works like 90% of the time. Not everybody has that quote unquote Excelsior, but certainly to your point, Oregon, made some questionable decisions there.
So I think the decisions are okay.
The decisions were okay, but the results were less than optimal.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just think the decisions are defensible if it's clear that there's a plan and it's clear, like getting 2 yards with an offensive line that's been this good, with a running attack that's been this good, with the receivers and tight end that have been this good. Like, more than anything, I think this is on the combination of Dan Lanning and Will Stein.
Well, that was going to be my question. My question was, whose fault is that?
They've got a good punter, but I don't think that makes a difference in this game. I don't think you punt and win this game. Like, I think there's too many good receivers on Washington. You're dealing with a backup corner in there because Jaleel Florence, one of the starting corners, goes down. Triquez Bridges in there. You saw Washington picking on him in those big moments. And so I think the results are similar if you punt, but I think Oregon wins this game if they get 1 4th down conversion. Like that to me is the game. When you're in that kind of driver's seat in that moment with that kind of experience and talent. I'm not going to say Oregon lost this game more than Washington won this game, because again, I think winning is a skill and Washington was better prepared to take advantage. But I'm wearing an Oregon shirt right now, and my vantage point is
get it out, man. Campfire. Throw it in the fire.
What ails Oregon comes down from the top. And what propels Washington is everybody being on the same page in a better way.
Well, look, Washington stepped up, and I want to give a shout out to Michael Penix. Michael Penix, not really a stranger to people who follow college football at this point, probably your leading Heisman candidate through about halfway into the season here. Michael Penix faced more pressure in this game than I think we've seen him face to date. Michael Penix at moments seemed to struggle with that, but then in the highest leverage moments throughout the course of the game, delivered just some incredible strikes. I mean, the degree of difficulty on some of those balls that he threw, hitting guys in stride as they're running step by step with some guys who are in man coverage on the Oregon side was damn impressive. And I don't know if NFL scouts are watching. I'd love to read the readout after it, because this was a hell of a performance by him, and no throw bigger than that one that eventually won the game for him. Again, your final score here, 36-33. Washington has the entire season in front of it. Believe you me, when I made the prediction, maybe it was the only prediction I'll get right all season long, that Washington was going to win the Pac-12. I had no idea that they would look this good. I had no idea that they would look this good. They're performing admirably. And look, there are other games that they need to get past. This is just one of many, but this is a hell of a start to to go 7 weeks into the season and be as formidable as they've looked.
Yeah, and to be clear, and I'm going to hurt myself by hurt my back by patting it so hard. Before the season said I have Oregon winning the Pac-12, losing in Seattle, and winning in Vegas. I hope as an Oregon person that happens, but I hope even more as a college football human that happens, because this was a really fun game. Not for me, but it was clear that a lot of people had a lot of fun watching this game. Yeah. So these appear to be the two most complete teams, because I assume we're going to talk about USC here soon, in the conference. And so if we can get this in Vegas, conference championship week, that seems like a win for the spotlight, the dwindling, fading spotlight on the Pac-12.